Good morning, or as we like to say with Bob Dewey, good morning from Bob Dewey. How's everybody? It is cold, I will tell you that. Hey, Jesse, I haven't seen you in a while. Hope everything is great. We got a bunch of folks showing up. It's always nice. It's hard to say folks. Folks is a good word. So, Jesse Cartwright, Jason Bragg, good morning. Betty Carlson, that's my aunt, good morning. Bob Dewey, there we go. Paula Scholl, good morning. Dave Bichard, always a pleasure talking to you, Dave. It is. It's always a pleasure. I already had a little bit of a cup. I appreciate I not every day can be the first cup with you guys. Sometimes I do need a little more caffeine as we get going. So, Paul Scholl, good morning. Eddie Ambras, good morning. Dave Bichard, Dave Dixon, good morning. We jumped here. Carolyn Clark, good morning. Jeremy Hunt, good morning. Nice little text back and forth this morning. Jeremy's a friend of mine. You're all friends of mine, though. I guess it doesn't, isn't that kind of, we're all just friends here. So, Karen Buzzard, no YouTube this morning. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Maybe the internet got broken last night whenever the greatest of all time got crowned. I wasn't even blaming you. Let's see. Ruthie Gamber, good morning. Yeah, it is definitely it's breezy out there. It's actually not breezy. Dave Dixon, good morning. Always a pleasure to see you. You, Bob, you're not wrong. It is several. It's ampersand, $, and what's the at? Is it? There's a word for that. Can't remember. It's Monday. Randy Carnes, good morning. Paul Jack, good morning. Paul Jack, good morning. Steve Dieter, and good morning. The Do Less. If you missed the show last week, there's a band that formed over here in the comment sections called the Do Less, and their name sort of says it all. They do less. Whatever you think a band should do, they do less. And this particular segment of the Do Less is they're not going to do a new intro song for me. So it's pretty funny. Bob Dewey got his notification there. Casey Walton, good morning. Your heat is 72. Oh yeah, and you have 2 space heaters on it. Yeah, it's brisk. It's brisk. Let's see. We're supposed to get super cold this week. I imagine most of my viewing audience is in a. That's actually very funny. Way to go, Scott. Yeah, you were clever. Daniel Blake, good morning. The DLB, the Do Less Band. It's so funny. And what's funny is it's something, what's hilarious is something like this, like the Do Less Band, the band that we're just, we're goofing. It's just called the @. Okay, that's what I call it. Oh, Brian, you're sitting at 16. You know what? I might as well go there. So I was outside, went out and started the truck. Truck was not enjoying it. It was no. Now, when I say like normally, I like bump the key. It's like, rah, let's go. And this morning it was like, glug, glug, rah. And for those of you youngsters out there, the cars not that long ago, a cold day like today, forget about it. They won't start. Atmospherically speaking, the sweet spot for gas to explode under pressure in an internal combustion engine is a narrower spot than you think it is, chemically speaking, or cosmically speaking, maybe. I don't know. So in the old days, and it wasn't even for me. The Do Less truck when cold. Exactly. So that's what I was thinking about this morning was when I bumped my key and it still starts. I was standing outside. I didn't even have to get in. Well, I have to put a foot in because you have to put your brake on, but I didn't get in. But my the last carbureted vehicle I had a 79 Ford Bronco. That was awesome. I mean, awesome. It hasn't been that long ago. 10, maybe 11 years ago was when I got rid of it, and it was totally rad. It was loud, and the body was in great shape, and it was I threw some money at it, so Pat's Petroleum Podcast. Yeah, exactly. So James Ranke, good to have you on the show. We're talking about Ford Broncos, and and it had about 10 years. That sounds about right. And it had a kind of a, you don't have to be a gear guy. It had a big carburetor on it. It was too much actually carburetor for the engine. It was way too much. But on a cold day, it wouldn't start. And I lived in a kind of quiet little neighborhood, and I would just be out there like kaglugga, 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 just over and over and over. And it doesn't. And then when it would finally start, it would just be. Yeah, I said totally rad, by the way. When it would start, then it would be just so loud and annoying, and I'd just be like rah, rah, trying to get it going. Oh, it was just the worst. I loved it. I love that thing so much. But we're spoiled now. Cars start so easy comparatively. Like it hasn't been that long ago, is why I guess what I'm saying. Now, granted, my truck was old, but I mean, we're talking like by 1980, 82, everything had gone to fuel injection, or at least a version 1 of it, and everything started starting better. So Karen says it's 11 degrees there. Whoa. Good morning and happy, Julie Stover. Good morning. Happy Monday. I was in the middle of a story talking about an old truck. Pat's Petroleum Podcast. I've heard worse names. I've used them probably. Gretchen Bishop. Good morning. I cannot believe Claire is 18. I think you've done the math wrong. She's a little girl. There's no way. Tell her I said happy birthday, by the way. Oh, Jesse, you're a Chevy gal. That's cool. I'm not. I'm not. We had to decide early on. I grew up a blue oval guy. We'll die one, even though I don't own one. But I think everybody should enjoy what they love. Drive the car you like. Cars are expensive and a terrible investment. So I want you to enjoy it. When you get in, turn your key, you drive around, it's all good. Let's see. The new Bronco does not have a Ford emblem on it. That's interesting. One of the, yeah. Not a Scott. Yeah, I tell you what. Scott's old truck was old. What was it, a 72? It's 12 in Toledo, everybody. Super cold. Let's see. So I'm going to guess. Your truck was a 79? I thought for some reason it was a 72. It just looked old. It looked old. That's all. You know what I think? Was my Bronco a 78 or a 79? It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That was like right when cell phones and stuff and picture phones were kind of like becoming a thing. And I don't have like a million photos of it. I have like 3, which is kind of a shame, but that's all right. Oh, you know what, Dave? That makes sense. They're gonna brand because I did see like they're launching like multiple Broncos under the Bronco name or something like that. I don't know. Good luck to them though. I'm sure it'll be amazing. James Ranke, I saw your picture and you're at Sheetz, and I was all like giving me the like. I don't know if you guys know, I'm a big fan of the Sheetz stop. Like, there's a lot to be said for. They have a wide selection of foods. Maybe you didn't know that, and their fuel is fantastic. I mean, I have no complaints with it. All my vehicles always started amazingly when I use Sheetz. Now, granted, I don't have any technical scientific knowledge. I mean, I'm not a scientist, so I like it when I make you jump fast. You had a brat, I assume. Yeah. There's nothing. Everything there is great, and if you like those kinds of things, like for example, I don't know if they have fried mushrooms, but I don't like mushrooms at all. Any variant of a mushroom, I have no interest in it. Gecko is, but Gecko's not Sheetz. I appreciate Gecko. Gecko is an awesome Gecko, in my opinion, is Giant Eagle's best impersonation of a Sheetz. Now they do a good job of it. They actually, it's a great place, but it's just not the same. But they're both fantastic compared to not being able to get delicious fresh made foods. I mean, I like the Subways in a BP kind of thing. Like, it's all good. So that's funny. Let's see. James had a brat. Gecko's cool. Yep. You know what, Jeremy? The Bronco is cool looking. I think I had a discussion the other day. I feel like the Bronco's a little too like, I'm looking for the next version of it. Like, currently it's awesome. Like, it's totally awesome. It's just not going to be for me. I think it's really what's going to boil down. Oh, by the way, I don't have the 60 grand to throw at it either, just in case anybody was curious. Yeah, Brian, they're all square. It's totally, it looks like the Range, but Range Rover doesn't look like a Range Rover anymore. Funny story, Range Rover looks like Ford Explorers. Why do you ask? Because Ford stole Range Rover's chief engineer, designer. I watch Top Gear. What can I say? What's funny, Randy, is I was watching the Super Bowl. I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched it just enough. And I generally don't watch a lot of live TV, so just any commercials are cool commercials to me. And I saw a Sheetz commercial. I'm like, yeah! And my coworker sorry, Casey, I dropped to the bottom of the list here. So Brian says, Bob Dewey, MTO, 100%. Jeremy Hunt, yeah, I mean, they're awesome, but I don't know if, I think version 2, I'm waiting till they perfect it a little bit, and then I'll see what happens. So, Casey, that's exactly my point. We are 100% on board with that. Every gas station with a touchscreen thinks they are a Sheetz, and I am sick of it. We are of one mind. 100% agree. Paula, so VW is kind of remarketing the microbus, like from the 60s, like they're kind of taking that vibe, like what they did with the Beetle. And, I think Volkswagen did a great job with the design of the Beetle for the first gen and the second gen. It's totally cool. Looks great. It's a little bit of the nostalgia with a modern car versus, have you driven a Beetle lately? Like the 50s, 60s, and what they could make them up into the 70s. They're just not a great car now. They're still great, and they're arguably the greatest car ever made. So many arguments that we could have about that. But the original Beetle from Volkswagen is just not meant for modern roads and modern. The brakes are just horrible. Just unstoppable, practically, comparatively speaking. Cars are so good now. We're so spoiled. You almost can't believe. I think everybody should have to go out and drive like a 1968. Oh, right, the Mexican Beetle. Yeah, they made that into 2002. I always forget about that. But everyone should have to go drive like a 68 Impala around the block just to remember, like, oh, yeah, they're not as fast as we remember, and they don't stop at all. And turning them is like turning a ship. Longest running production car of all time. And still a feat of engineering. So the halftime show, I didn't watch it. I'm familiar with The Weeknd, the hits, and I'll be honest, I have gotten off of the halftime show thing. Like, yeah, I mean, the Bug, the Beetle, same more or less. Brad, Jason, your first car was a 68 Impala? Dang. I mean, that's a great car, but your first car was a 68 Impala? My first car was an 81 Volkswagen Rabbit. Screaming yellow, automatic. I didn't even know they made them in automatic. It was an automatic, and it was awesome because it was my first car. And I destroyed it. I destroyed a couple of cars. None of it was my fault. But I ended up smashing up a couple of cars. I'm not a great decision maker when it comes to those kind of things. The old K car, oh yeah, that was my neighbor had one of those. It was what we we did she would pick me up on the way to school, and we did with the old Reliant K. So, man, the halftime shows, they're just not. They're not what I like. I wouldn't go to watch the halftime show if it was in person, let alone watch it on TV. I also don't watch concerts on TV very often. Like, I want to go to a concert, or I want to see like a close shot kind of thing. I'm sure it was great or it was awful. I guess it just depends on what you think is entertainment to you. I did like that fly coat, though. I saw a picture of him. He was in like a red sparkly super fly coat. So what do we got here? Oh, we're talking about first cars. So Jeremy had a 75 Nova 4-door baby blue. Oh, I love the 4-door Nova. Is such a great sleeper car. I totally love that. Eddie had a 65 Ford Falcon. No way. I'm in that small category of one of my favorite cars of all time is the Falcons. They're just great. I think they're, no one ever asked me, but I don't know why Ford didn't keep making those. They were great. Design was cool. Have you ever seen the 70s Falcons that were made in Australia? Like, they were manufactured down there. Such a great car. Except here they went to like the Torino, I think. I don't know my 2-door sedan or 2-door family car, non-sports car, non-pony car history very well. But the Falcon was cool. Let's see. Eddie had a 65 Cal. Bob Dewey had a 72 Chevelle. So 72, that'd have been long nose with like sort of the round back, right? That's before, but still, so what, 74 or 5 is when they switched to sort of that, like, where they all kind of look the same. Not the same, but that's 60, mid 60s to Chevelles into that generation of Chevelle too. That's I think one of the greatest cars of all time. That the door on those, particularly, like, that door must be 4 feet long, right? Like, I mean, like, to open it, like, you couldn't park it in a car in a parking lot today. So great, though. The door probably weighed 3,000 pounds, which is 1/10 of the car's weight, actually. So, Paul, yeah, not a fan of the show. Look, I mean, I'm not a big fan of big, glossy, glitzy production anyways. Have you seen my show? So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard to get everybody. Let's see. Wait, where are we at? Yeah, so, yeah, no, Betty had a 67 Chevelle Super Sport with a 396. I have just the most vaguest memory of that car, which was obviously one of the in our family, that car is legend. So yeah, so Bruno Mars, I can believe Bruno Mars was great because he's a bit, he's full blown on all levels. Great musician, great singer, got the moves. He could play his ass off on a guitar. Like, I can believe he's great. But I didn't watch it. The last one I watched live was probably, it was probably Prince. We played in a downpour, pulled the Telecaster out, and he's just like, and I think it was actually live versus what's going on now is, or has been going on for quite some time, is it's all pre-recorded, and they'll run a live track at the same time. So, like, you can hear their voices, but it's not live. There's no band there. It's all the stuff's under it's all unplugged or whatever. It's a show. It's a music video. That's all it is. It's a live music video. Let's see. 65. So Julie Stover's first car was an old telephone van with 2 bucket seats, no radio, and a rack behind. That sounds awesome. An old telephone van? Look at all the stuff you could carry around, especially now. Like, you could bring weights with you. You're like, who wants to work out? Like, I've got a bunch of weights right here. And like yoga mats and things like that. Let's see. Jeremy Hunt, Randy Moss, and Randy Ross. It wasn't Randy Ross, was it? It was Randy Watson, right? Randy Watson and the Sexual Chocolate Coming from America. Yeah. So, am I the only one that didn't know they're remaking Coming to America, or not remaking it? They're doing a sequel. And the first one was what? Was it even 1990? Yeah, thank you, Scott. You're also not in the know, such as myself. I saw the commercial for it. Again, I think it was on whatever that window that I was watching, the Coming to America thing, and it looks, I mean, kind of awful. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's at least 30 years later, right? Like, it's got to be close to that. Like, is there anything that was left unsaid? Was McDowell's still around? Did McDonald's ever call? No radio in a car. I've had a couple of no radio cars, by the way, and that's a little heavy to take, especially then. Now, everyone has earbuds in when they drive around, anyways. So Mike, you also had a 75. Wait, where did I lost it? I lost it. There's a bunch of. I've been rambling on. So Mike Gould's also his first car was a 75 Nova 4-door as well. BSB, baby shit brown. The whole house. See, that was a thing. Release date. Yeah. I was going to say, I thought I was in high school, or it was like the summer after high school, which was exactly then. That was a thing people used to do. You'd put a freaking house speaker in your car, and you'd have like, did you do this, Gould? Did you have run like extra speaker cable, and then you could take them out and put them on the roof of your car? That was a thing. We did it. It was just terrible, but it was great. It was great. It made those high school gave it the soundtrack, because the old plastic cassette deck boom boxes back then with no power. Like, if you weren't plugged in, I mean, they couldn't. They'd last about 9 seconds. Like, you jam $45 worth of D batteries in it, hit play, clunk, and it would like died like that. Let's see. Oh, an 83 Cutlass Supreme. I gotta remember. So Cutlass Supreme, would that be on that 83? So would that be like that sort of Buick Regal, the Monte Carlo? Would that be that I forget what they call that's probably what that was. I can't picture it in my head. I remember that though. Let's see. 68. Oh, no way. So the 68 sat for a while, and you got a bracket, brought it back together. I love it. Halftime show, yes. The Cool Chevelle stopped in 72. Got it. Curtis, I wish I was the Stig. Wasn't it like a Schumacher? Wasn't it one of those guys or was it various guys? But if you've never watched Top Gear, I don't know. There's an American version that's coming out, but it's a BBC show. And it's the originals. Well, it's actually not even the original cast, but there was 3 guys that worked together. Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and Captain Slow, James May. And they're the most unassuming car guys. Like, it's more like they bicker and fight, and then they drive like $300,000 and up supercars, and they do donuts in them on an airport. It's kind of the show, but they're funny and they're clever. Especially, like, there was a run of just like show after show after show or season after season that was really good. But they also had a professional race car driver, and they had a racetrack on an airport. I think actually they owned the airport, so they made the racetrack there. But the race car driver was known only as the Stig, and he always had his helmet on. You couldn't see his face or anything. That dude could wheel. Like, that dude would drive these $300,000 and $400,000, $500,000 million. I think Veyrons, all that kind of stuff. Would run these cars around these racetracks, and just like, I mean, beating them like beat them like a rented mule or whatever. Like, I mean, blow them up. And only wrecked one, the Koenigsegg, I think. Let's take a look here. There was a widespread speculation with any various claims, a number of different racers, including Collins, Damon Hill, and Julian Bailey. I don't know any of those guys. They're usually, but they'd be all F1 guys probably. So, anyways, and I might be the Stig though. You don't know. Yeah, we always called that car the hot rod. That's for sure. Prince doing Purple Rain. That's that Bob Dewey talks about it. That's what I'm talking about. That first off, it was a pouring down, like it was a torrential downpour in a Super Bowl with people really there, and Prince just crushes Purple Rain. It was amazing. So you want to see it? I don't want to see it. I'll be honest. Um. So, James, I had an 85 maybe Bronco 2, but I had one of those. It was the Eddie Bauer edition. And so it was like orange and tan, the little tan stripe across the bottom, and like had pine trees on the seat, because it's fancy. And then it had the fishbowl back. I don't know if you remember the Bronco 2. I would like to see one in person now. I bet it's so small compared to what like my memory of it was, but it was so small, and like the windows that went up, and then the window, all glass, went up and like curled over, like met, I don't know, 6 inches into the, such a weird, like, who was like, it'd be cool making that thing so unbearably hot in the summer that people could die. That would be cool. But I loved the Bronco too. Oh, you had a Kid Rock cassette stuck in it? Dang, that was awesome. So Randy Carnes paid 50 bones for a 60 Falcon and had a spare engine in the trunk. I need to take Randy car shopping with me sometime. I don't remember it, but I did know the legend of you had a 1965 pink Ford Mustang convertible. How did it get pink, by the way? I've always wondered that. I don't think they made pink cars back then. Doesn't matter. In the photos I've seen it, and it looks awesome. I've never got to drive it. You guys got rid of it before I ever got around. Yeah, Jason, honestly, there is the old Ford Bronco too. Such a, like, impossible to get into the back seat. But once you got there, you literally could die from the heat. It was such, and it had the 2.8 V6. Then they upgraded to the 2.9, which was really a great engine if you wanted to kill all the grass underneath where you parked, because it leaked so many fluids at any various times. So that's exactly what. But I do agree, Jason. Older cars, there's a simplicity to them that was amazing. The whole golf cart mentality of engine, wheels, tires, power to the ground. Drive it reasonably, and you'll make it. Try not to run into things, because we didn't build it for that. We built it for moving. Tractors, I don't know. I miss that too, 100%. So Bob Dewey had a Dodge Dart with a slant 6 and 3 on the tree. The slant 6 is legendary for being an unkillable motor, but the 3 on the tree, I've never driven one. My neighbor had a 3 on the tree. It was like a 1980 or an 81 F100 truck with a 306 in it, and it had 3 on the tree, and I never could move it. I could drive a stick, but I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. Now, I was also 11, so I bet I could drive one now. So Eddie brings up a very good point. Vintage cars do have a big enough trunk to haul none of the do less equipment. That's awesome. So that's the Reliant Robin, by the way, James, that episode. So if you've never seen a Reliant Robin, it looks like a wedge, essentially. It looks like there's no way this is a car that somebody made to put on the road. And they were terribly known for flipping over. So Jeremy Clarkston, who was just this big oaf of a person, wedges his giant person into this Reliant Robin and then drives it around some small town in England and keeps rolling it, like every turn, like flips it over. It is it's pretty awesome. It's pretty funny. So Daniel had a 67 Camaro. Excellent. Yeah, that's it. The Reliant Robin. That's the one. Gas, spark, compression. Exactly. That's exactly. Oh, well, thank you, Curtis. I love cars. I do. I don't love where cars are right now. I love the cars we're talking about. I love cars that strike emotional, like when we think about them, you're like, oh God, I remember the smell of that car. I remember the whatever. Or I had that car, that my 81 Volkswagen Rabbit, that was honestly a great car for a crazy 17-year-old kid to be driving around. It was got good gas mileage and went great in the snow. But I drove it like it was a race car because I'm the Stig on the DL. Don't tell anybody. Let's see. Yeah. So yeah, by the way, the Reliant Robin episode is truly funny. And good morning, Julie Aaron. Good morning. And but cars now, and I think kids now don't have like. I don't want to be like kids today because I don't mean it like that. I think there's a whole. Dave just said about cars have a soul, and I agree that I agree with that. There was something in there. There was an energy that transferred, and maybe it was the simplicity of it. But now, collectively, I don't mean any of you. Collectively, we are getting worse and worse at driving. So the control of the car, the feel of the car, is all being eliminated. So it's just like, just try to point it between the lines. Please try to point it. If not, we've got it. It's all covered in marshmallows. So when you do eventually hit something, you're going to be fine. But that's so I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Is there's no danger, and for me, not that cars were dangerous, but there was an element of like, oh, see how this goes. Which is such a terrible way to drive. So I'm not saying it's better now or it's worse now. It's actually probably better. There's nobody driving around the back roads of Western Pennsylvania. Well, there probably is right now, actually. And I'm probably related to them. But there's, I learned how to drift in broadside cars driving around. Like, it's such a terrible idea, but I got pretty good at it. I mean, I only wrecked a half a dozen cars or so. I mean, that's not that bad considering I never had any official coaching and training on how to race cars. That's the truth. No one's ever trained me on race carring. Let's see. I will say, Jason mentioned the Tesla, the whole e-car movement from a car fanatic, from a like power and speed. What they can do with an electric motor is amazing. And the power to weight ratio is just crazy. So I'm excited to see where some of this stuff is coming. I saw like, I think I maybe see a commercial. I think I saw another commercial where General Motors is pushing like a couple of, like, is there a new Humvee? Something? Did I see that? I couldn't tell if it was real or belonged in like a movie set, but yeah, that was with Will Ferrell. Right. And Will Ferrell, God, I love him. He has no problem looking like a goof. So let's see. All right, let's see. 2003, yeah. So like I barely have a newer than a 2003 car now. Like cars back then, like old and ratchety, and hope you made it. Like that was it. Let's see. Julie says her favorite car was a black Mazda. Loaded, heated seats, sunroof, and a CD player. I like those those 2000s Mazdas. Some of those were pretty fast too. There was a Mazda did a speed series of cars, like they had the Speed 3, the Speed 6. I don't remember all the speeds they did, but they basically took like, a Mazda, Mazda 626, and made it like crazy fast and powerful. And they were awesome. It's such a great sleeper car. But yeah, I love those 2000s Mazdas. Fun cars. Video Game on Wheels, 2003. I loved my Jeep. I did. I loved the soft top in the wintertime. I couldn't do that now. I've gotten too old and too cranky. But now, I like a Honda Ridgeline. I bump the key, it starts, drives nice and smooth, the radio's loud. I'm totally fine. Seated heats for my dainty bottom. Not so dainty. That's me now. Like I've gotten old. My auto, I still think I'm, from a guitar playing standpoint or basic shenanigans, I'm still pretty immature. But my driving age is completely I'm old now. I like old. I'm an old person. I like old cars. Danger was sleeping in the back window. Oh, so we used to. I mean, we really used to do this. Like we would ride. My grandmother had Chevy Caprice Classics. Maybe they were just Chevy Caprices. Now they call them Chevy Caprice Classics. They and we would fight over who got to lay in the greenhouse, the rear deck. You just lay back there and just like on the drive down Route 28 down to Pittsburgh, just right in the back there, probably to Monroeville Mall or someplace like that. Who knows? Or the Pirate Games. But yeah, that was oh my god! And it was literally a greenhouse. It was amazing. So yeah, 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds. That's insane. Eddie, I was such a huge Speed Racer fan. I've tried to watch it. I've tried to get my coworker invested in it. He doesn't care for it like I did. That show was a total game changer for me. And that totally explains, like, I went from Speed Racer to Batman, the 60s, the 60s Adam West Batman, because that car was glorious. I liked the Munsters a little bit. Again, and the same guy, I believe, designed both those cars. And then I went straight to the Dukes of Hazzard at that point, and it was all that. It was just the car. I mean, that 68 Dodge Charger is still I wouldn't want it in orange, but it is still one of my favorite designs of all time. They're impossible to drive. I can't imagine what it'd be like driving one right now. A door on a 68 Charger, what is it, 4.5 feet long? Like, you'd have to park it in a field to get out of it. So that's it there. What else we got? RX-7. You know, one of my best friends in my college running around days had an RX-7, and I didn't know much about him. Bryce Cribble, that's who it was. I couldn't remember who it was. Bryce had that RX-7, and we got into a lot of like almost trouble. Bryce, to this day, man, I haven't thought of Bryce in a long time. Bryce is one of those guys that he just is. He's got that. What do you call it? Like the Matrix. Like he can just like slightly move and dodge bullets, man. That guy, he's amazing. Let's see. A Jeep with a hardtop. See, those are great. They're awesome. You know, but still not I like my Ridgeline. Sorry, I've gotten old. Let's see. Right there with you, Betty, to the grandsons, older cars, trucks. Yeah, you know, I mean, and their older cars are still great. Don't get me wrong, but the time, the clock is on them. You know, they're just not. They're not going to make it. You know, cars are going to change, but that's okay. Doesn't mean I can't still love them. I can name every car. Well, I guess how would I know if I can't remember every car? I would only know the cars I remember. Yeah. So I can remember every car I can remember. That's the truth. So I was outside this morning, was talking about the weather real quick, and then I got to go. Wow, this show went long today. Sorry. Talking about cars, I get so excited. Oh yeah, outside. I don't know. Like, I mean, like it was that kind of air when you breathe in, it like your nose hairs crackle, like breaking off kind of crackle. So I'm gonna say it's like 14. Like I'm really 14 degrees is where I'm thinking. Ha ha! Dead on the money. 12 to 14% of the time, I am 100% accurate. Every time. All right, everybody. Hey, it was great talking cars. You know, Jason, you know, I think you're probably correct. You know, as we move forward, as the technology improves, you know, I mean, it certainly seems to be where we're leaning. So let's hope that all works out. All right. So I had a thing. I don't have to do that. Cool. All right, everybody. You are great. Every darn one of you, and Anchorman too. That's a reasonable movie. The first one is wild. The second one is whatever. You guys are fantastic. I love all of you, even